He awakens on a snow-capped ridge, breath fogging. His body bruised from the fall that killed him. Beside him, a 5-year-old girl clutches a ragged doll, eyes wide, hair that will later blaze as the Witch Queen. The game world system flashes a new quest, Change the Future. He realizes his daughter is the Seolah who will become the final boss, and his death was only the first trigger. Panic claws at him, but the thought of losing her again fuels a fierce promise to rewrite her fate. He grips her tiny hand, feeling destiny shift.
My daughter.
The cold wind carries a warning that his next choice could seal the world.
The silent panels stretch, each breath hanging heavy as the hunter watches Seo Jun's trembling hand. Seo Jun wants a chance to teach Seolah how to live, but the hunter's presence turns every step into a threat. The obstacle is the hunter's unwavering stare, a blade barely sheathed, ready to strike at any sign of weakness. Seo Jun forces his knees to the ground, pulling the girl close, whispering promises of safety. The hunter's eyes narrow, calculating the next move. He has no idea what's waiting. The final panels flash with cryptic symbols, a rising glyph and a faint echo of a word, M.O. Seo Jun senses the surge of power, a warning that the world itself trembles at the child's destiny. A lone lantern flickers on the snowy plain, casting trembling shadows over Seolah's small shoulders. She grips a wooden toy sword, eyes wide with curiosity. Seo Jun crouches, whispers promises of safety, and hands her a warm loaf of bread. He maps the day's chores, vows to teach her spells before darkness falls, and watches her smile ignite hope against the looming prophecy. Ember glints off the ancient rune as Lee Seo Jun kneels beside 5-year-old Seolah, cradling her trembling hand. He whispers a promise to rewrite each misfortune, his eyes blazing with newfound resolve.
A blinding pulse erupts, yanking Lee Seo Jun from the icy death's cape into a newborn world where flashing numbers count down and a glowing quest marker forces him to rewrite every looming misfortune. He clutches trembling 5-year-old Seolah, hearing her call, Daddy. And the weight of guilt and fierce love drives him to promise safety, knowing failure could seal her tragic fate. The countdown ticks toward 0. The sky shivers with unknown whispers, and as the quest log glows, Seo Jun faces the terrifying question. Welcome to the slaughter. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The final boss is his own daughter. If she wins, humanity falls. Lee Seo Jun jolts awake, a trembling 5-year-old clinging to his hand, eyes sparkling with pure wonder. The world he just escaped lies in ruins under her dark shadow, yet fate offers him a second chance. He feels a cold promise. Nurture this child, rewrite the apocalypse, or watch everything shatter. The weight of a broken future crushes his chest while the girl giggles, blissfully ignorant of the doom she bears.
I know, it's shocking and hard to accept, but this child truly is your daughter, Seo Jun.
And that's only the beginning.
A distant bell tolls across the shattered plaza as Seo Jun stumbles toward the trembling child. 5-year-old Seolah clutches a cracked amulet, eyes wide with fear. He kneels, offers a warm loaf, and promises to shield her from the 5 misfortunes that once forged a tyrant. Each heartbeat fuels his resolve. The weight of the world presses down, yet his hands steady, ready to rewrite destiny. Seo Jun leans in, voice low, demanding the truth that has haunted his sleep. He asks why she hid his daughter's existence all these years, his eyes searching for a reason beyond betrayal. She sighs, admitting their split was bitter, and that the news of her pregnancy arrived just as he was conscripted. Lee Seo Jun admits he shows up only because his life spirals, not for love. The former partner scoffs, reminding him that their breakup was messy and any lingering feeling would only complicate things. Seo Jun's cheeks flush as the marriage suggestion lands, his voice stumbling. She sighs, grateful he lets them stay, but insists the wedding talk can wait until they sort out the chaos. Their fragile truce hangs on unspoken doubts, each word a thin thread over a yawning abyss. I come because everything's falling apart, not because I still love you.
We left on bad terms, any feelings only hurt. Marriage talk catches me off guard. I'm flustered.
Lee Seo-jun cracks the door, confronting the shocking truth that the mischievous which he fears is his own daughter, the world's final boss. He stakes his fragile hope on a desperate pact, trading any lingering love for a harrowing mission that could free his cursed daughter but shatter his own soul. The former partner warns that the curse loops eternally, leaving Seo-jun poised at the guild's threshold while the true mastermind behind the final boss which remains hidden, threatening his next move. Every week there's a new chapter. Every week people miss it without the subscription. Don't be one of them. Manwa with Hari. Monsters ripped the world apart. My daughter became humanity's final boss. Lee Seo-jun wakes in a void, his body broken, his mind foggy. He feels a cold hand on his cheek. A 5-year-old girl with wild hair, eyes glowing. She is his daughter Seola, the witch destined to shatter worlds. A voice echoes, "Change the future." He learns his death was a reset, a second chance to raise her before the 5 misfortunes strike. Panic spikes, but desperation fuels his promise to protect her. What have I become? And that's not even the worst part. Across every kingdom, the sky cracks open, spewing bright rifts that swallow towns. Lightning crackles over the ruined plaza as Lee Seo-jun clutches the dormant crystal in his palm. He watches 5-year-old Seola grin, her tiny hand reaching for the glowing shard. He vows to shield her from the looming 5 misfortunes that once forged the final boss. Every heartbeat now fuels a new quest. Nurture the witch before darkness consumes her, lest the world shatter again. Dawn spreads across the cracked courtyard as Seo-jun blinks awake, his breath steaming in the cold air. 5-year-old Seola toddles forward, clutching a tattered doll, eyes bright with misplaced curiosity. He feels the weight of the prophecy pressing on his shoulders. Each misstep could summon the 5 misfortunes that already scarred the world. And that's not even the worst part. Lightning cracks across the ruined academy as Lee Seo-jun stumbles from a lingering dream. He spots 5-year-old Seola clutching a broken crystal, her eyes flashing with untamed mana. He recalls the dimensional fractures that birthed the final boss apocalypse and vows to shield her from the 5 misfortunes. Every heartbeat now fuels a desperate quest. Nurture the child's innocence before the world shatters again. Lightning splinters the ruined plaza as Seo-jun darts toward the tiny witch-clad figure. He grabs Seola's hand, feels her trembling pulse, and swears to rewrite destiny. Around them, fractured mana erupts, spawning restless hunters who brandish contracts like shackles. Lightning shatters the ruined academy as Seo-jun lunges, seizing 5-year-old Seola's trembling hand amid exploding mana fissures, vowing to rewrite her doomed destiny. Guilt claws his chest while hope flickers in Seola's untamed eyes, granting him the chance to. He didn't just beat him, he humbled him. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for the aftermath. Seola's mother becomes the final boss. Every second Seola survives steals a minute from doom. Lee Seo-jun awakens in a frail, non-hunter body as the massive Crete bull charges. His hands tremble, mana gone, but he can't leave his 5-year-old daughter. He shoves Seola toward a narrow alley, yelling to run. The bull's hooves crush stone, echoing his own heartbeat. He knows he can't match its strength, yet he stands, buying precious seconds. Seola's scream pierces the chaos, a raw plea for escape.
Run! Escape now!
And that's not even the worst part. Lee Seo-jun crouches behind a broken wall, his breath ragged, as the Crete bull snarls nearby. Lightning splits the storm-racked tower as Seo-jun snaps awake, his eyes locking onto a tiny hand clutching a cracked wooden toy. 5-year-old Seola giggles, oblivious to the looming apocalypse. Seo-jun grips the blank card, whispers a promise to shield her from the 5 misfortunes, and steals his heart. He knows each mistake could shatter the world, so he vows to become the father she never had. A distant bell tolls as Lee Seo-jun clutches a cracked wand, eyes fixed on the trembling Crete bull charging the market square. He thrusts his improvised broom spear, mana draining with each strike, buying 5 terrified seconds for 5-year-old Seola. Sayla clutches the blanket tighter, her small fingers digging into the fabric as she watches her father's exhausted form. She whispers that Daddy tried to shield her, but the memory of the bull's roar still trembles in her chest. Guilt gnaws at her, wondering if she exaggerated the danger to earn his attention. She lifts her head, eyes flashing with stubborn pride, and declares she can stand on her own. The promise of a prank flickers, yet the weight of her father's sacrifice presses on her conscience, forcing her to confront the truth she tried to hide. What are your thoughts, Yoonhai?
Seo-jun traps the rampaging Crete bull within the shattered market, using Sela's blanket as a makeshift tether, while the crowd watches in horrified awe. Sayla clings to the blanket, feeling her father's promise shatter and rebuild, gaining a fragile hope but losing the innocence of a child untouched by blood-soaked terror. As the healer whispers a cursed secret about the bull's origin, Yoonhai emerges from shadows, eyes blazing, demanding Seo-jun reveal the hidden cycle that could doom the entire village. The screen is fading. Hit subscribe on Manwa with Hari before it's gone.
He'd betray his own child, the final boss, before sunrise. Seo-jun blinks awake, the world a blur of broken walls and a 5-year-old clutching his sleeve. The tiny witch named Sayla looks up, eyes bright with unspent power. His mind races how to stop the apocalypse that once erased her. The only answer he can grasp is a voice beside him, calm and steady. He presses his palm to her cheek, forcing a question that trembles on his lips. The air tightens, waiting for her reply, while the clock ticks toward the world's end. And that's not even the worst part. Seo-jun narrows his eyes, the weight of the quest pressing his cheek.
Seo-jun swallows doubts, vows to raise Sayla, offers a secret technique he barely grasps. Yoonhai scoffs, calling it a so-called top secret. Yet curiosity glints. He points to a small workshop between stalls, saying the skill hides inside. Yoonhai notes workshops sit in malls or guild halls. Prices steep, gear locked behind guilds. She urges him forward, promising they can get tools without draining coins. Their bond shifts from mistrust to tentative teamwork, each step toward the shop a gamble for Sela's future. Stay sub to Manwa with Hari, or you'll miss the climax. I'll raise you, teach my secret technique. Your so-called top secret? The secret is a workshop here.
Dawn breaks over A grizzled old man waves a tray of stale biscuits, shouting that they'll cover Sela's snack cravings. Seo-jun waves him off, eyes fixed on the blacksmith's ledger. Kino, a lanky friend, slams his palm on the table, offering the raw materials for the spear and bow. My wrists will ache, Seo-jun mutters, feeling the strain of each heavy sheet of metal. The blacksmith nods, stamps the receipt, and the weapons finally leave the forge. With spear in hand and a bow for Sayla, Seo-jun turns to Yoonhai, voice steady. Now we can move forward. He secures the gear, but the cost gnaws at his resolve. He has no idea what's waiting. Seo-jun forges a spear infused with Sela's dormant power, sealing a pact that could turn the tide against the looming dungeon threat. Yoonhai watches, heart pounding, as the price tag drains their last savings, forcing Seo-jun to shoulder a crushing debt that threatens his family's fragile stability. As the blacksmith's ledger cracks open, a shadowy figure looms, promising a dangerous bargain that could either empower Sayla or doom them all to ruin. If you click away without subscribing, you might never find Manwa with Hari again. Hit the button. Her shortbread turned lethal. The ultimate showdown is against her own daughter. Lee Seo-jun snaps awake to a sunlit clearing, heart pounding. A 5-year-old Seola stands barefoot, clutching a tiny wooden sword, eyes wide with curiosity. Seo-jun remembers the night his child became the world-ending final boss, the fire that consumed everything, and the cold void that claimed him. Now the universe rewinds, giving him a second chance, but the clock still ticks.
He must become the father she never had, or the world shatters again. Seo-jun drags Seola away from the village square, searching for a place far from guild eyes. The horizon, eyes narrowing at a distant ridge where mist clings to stone.
Lee Seo-jun jolts awake to 5-year-old Seola clutching a cracked wand, her eyes brimming with innocence instead of the darkness that once devoured nations. He grabs her trembling hand, vows to rewrite the 5 misfortunes, and races toward the looming ruins, knowing any slip will unleash the final boss and shatter the world forever. Jaewon's question reverberates through the stone walls, and Seo-jun feels the burden of a future he cannot ignore. He hesitates, then nods, promising to protect Seola even if it means risking his own life. Jae-hwan offers a mysterious lock and jewel device, hinting it will aid their upcoming quest. The old man admits his own doubts, wondering if he should have accompanied them from the start.
A low rumble shakes the market's stone floor, and Seola's hand grips the satchel tighter. "What's that, earthquake?" she stammers, voice cracking. A sudden crack splits the ceiling of the nearby department store, and a yawning sinkhole devours the entrance. Vendors shout, customers scramble, and the ground trembles beneath their feet. Their goal shifts to finding safety before the collapse spreads. The obstacle becomes the massive void swallowing the building's core. Seo-jun grabs Seola, pulls her toward the exit, and slams the door shut just as debris crashes inside. They escape the immediate danger, yet the ruin hints at a deeper catastrophe looming. Outside, the shattered storefront glows with a strange, violet light. An instant dungeon has spawned. The chapter ends at a breaking point for My Daughter is the final boss. Every answer opened 3 new questions. The final moment leaves everything and everyone on the edge. This story just took a massive turn to the dark side. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari.
A horde of monsters floods the hallway. Only the hunter's exit offers a chance. Civilians scramble, hands claw at jammed doors, faces turn pale. A voice shouts, panic ripping through the air. The crowd pushes, backs slam against stone, hope flickers. Every scream fuels the monster's surge. The door refuses to budge, trapping them inside. Desperation drives a few to pound the wood, hoping someone beyond hears them. Their breath hitches as the monsters close in, claws scraping the floor. The pressure builds to a breaking point, and the next step could decide who survives. The hunter's signal looms, but can it be reached in time?
The hunters gather around a wounded civilian, checking his pulse as the earth spider venom courses through his veins. They need to decide whether to risk a boss fight for the exit or tend to the poison first. The obstacle is the ticking clock. The toxin will kill the man before they can clear the dungeon. One hunter argues that killing the boss will open the exit and save everyone, while another warns the child's limited time makes a rushed battle reckless. The group debates, each side pressing harder, while the victim clutches his wound, his breath growing shallow. Their indecision threatens to cost more lives.
It's earth spider poison.
The hunters stare at the towering slime, eyes widening. One mutters, "Are all hunters like that? Possible with training." As they gauge the creature's sluggish form, Go-hyeon rushes to Yoonhye, shouting, "Yoonhye, are you alright?" The young hunter winces, replying that the vibration still throbs through her limbs. Annie steps forward, clutching a torch, and tries to calm the tension, insisting the slime's size won't matter if they move slow. Lee Seo-jun watches, calculating the safest path, while the group's breath hitches, aware that any misstep could awaken a deeper threat. But the real problem is already in motion.
Are all hunters like that? Possible with training. Yoonhye, are you alright? The vibration hurts.
The hunters clash with a towering gelatinous monster, only to discover the trembling 5-year-old beside Lee Seo-jun is the very incarnation of the dungeon's final boss. Lee Seo-jun feels his heart shatter as the child he vowed to protect becomes the ultimate threat, forcing him to choose between paternal love and the world's survival. With the slime receding and the child's eyes glowing ominously, the hunters stand frozen, unsure whether to fight the monster, the girl, or both. He never forgets a face, and he never forgives a traitor. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The slime's membrane will burst, and only my mana can shatter the battlefield. I stare at the towering ooze, its glossy skin pulsing with acidic fumes. Hien grips her spear, eyes narrowed, while Kook Yunhai readies a torch. The rest of the party forms a thin line, each breath shallow, aware that any misstep could melt steel. My pulse drums in my ears. I know my rare mana-shaking skill is the only hope to crack that barrier. The slime's low rumble vibrates the ground, promising destruction if we hesitate. And that's not even the worst part. Hien steps forward, voice steady, and declares our plan. Hien staggers back as the slime's acid splashes the ground, burning the sand beneath her boots. The slime's core erupts, sending a wave of acidic vapor that engulfs the squad. Hien coughs. The trio circles the massive, bubbling mass that feels more like a rogue field boss than a slime. Their oil-slicked weapons sputter uselessly against its thick membrane, and every attempt to ignite a flame backfires as the creature snarls, refusing heat. Hien steadies her stance, eyes flicking to the left as a voice warns her of an incoming strike. The team scrambles to reposition, aware that any misstep could trigger a catastrophic eruption. Hien, Yunhai, and the protagonist sprint toward the shimmering crack, their boots pounding pavement that suddenly feels unstable. Their eyes scan the chaotic scene. A line of terrified shoppers, children clutching parents, and a police unit trying futilely to cordon off the area. The fissure pulses, as if testing the resolve of anyone who approaches. Hien raises a hand, signaling the group to split. Yunhai to scout the interior, the protagonist to keep the crowd back, Hien to find a way to seal the breach. The tension spikes because the clock is already ticking. "Grandpa, where is this?" A small voice pierces the clamor, trembling with disbelief. The chapter ends at a breaking point for my daughter is the final boss. Every answer opened 3 new questions. The final moment leaves everything and everyone on the edge. The action is only getting faster. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari and try to keep up. Sayla, the final boss, just annihilated her own father and claimed the throne. The world trembles as the 5-year-old stands amid shattered ruins, eyes wide with unknowable power. She clutches a broken sword, the weight of destiny pressing on her tiny shoulders. Everyone around her freezes, unsure if she is the cause or the cure. A distant voice whispers the price of failure, total apocalypse.
Sayla, how did you get here? Did you come here by yourself? The air crackles with tension, and every heartbeat races toward the next revelation.
And the answer hides in the shadows of the past. The crowd parts as a trembling figure steps forward, claiming the child as his own. The talk turns sharp as Seo Jun mentions that the next step falls to another man to win Yunhai's heart. He watches her reaction, a puzzled frown that quickly hardens into suspicion. He recalls the rumors about her past, the hardships she endured alone. He offers a brief apology, recognizing the weight she carries without support. By stepping back, he hopes to give her to choose, though the risk is losing her to a stranger. The price is his own lingering doubt and the chance that love remains out of reach.
Grandfather Rex steps forward, his aged shoulders creaking with resolve, as he sees the mother's weary gaze. He wants her to trust the family's strength, not shoulder the burden alone. The looming threat of the final boss casts a shadow that makes her hesitate. Rex offers his steady hand, urging her to share any hardship with him or Seo Jun. His words cut through the tension, granting her a lifeline she hadn't dared to ask for. Relief flickers in her eyes, and a quiet agreement forms, binding them tighter than before. But the real problem is already in motion.
She's your daughter, Seojun's, and my granddaughter. Rely on us, don't do everything alone.
Seo Jun drags the rusted cart to the square, cracks open the glowing crystal, and seals a pact that bans Sila's powers from ever being revealed to the world. Sayla feels the crushing weight of secrecy, while Seo-jun bears the promise, and Father Adam wrestles with guilt, fearing the family's fragile unity will shatter under the looming curse. A dark whisper ripples from the remaining 5 crates, hinting that the next arc starts soon and it changes everything. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari, you'll want to be there. Lee Sejun jolts awake inside a blinding white void. His last breath flashes. He died. His witch daughter Sayla became the world-ending final boss. Regret erupts like a volcano, sparking a desperate new mission. He will rewrite fate by raising 5-year-old Sayla instead of letting her fall. The stale stone of the guild whispers behind him, while his heart hammers with dread and a fragile spark of hope. Every misstep could lock humanity's doom, yet the tiny hand reaching for him promises a chance to change everything. And that's not even the worst part. Seo-jun steps into the ruined courtyard. The battlefield lies empty. No soldiers, no monsters, just crushing silence. He shouts, his voice cracking, but only wind replies. A bank teller slides a thick envelope to Seo-jun, gold coins jingling against parchment. He flips through the guild's loot report, eyes widening as the sum surpasses expectations. We already covered the exam fees, the teller whispers, but the guild sends extra for your daughter's training kit. Seo-jun nods, feeling pressure rise. Each coin represents a chance to rewrite Seola's fate before the world collapses. Dust swirls on the cracked floor as Seo-jun grabs a worn diary, its pages fluttering like restless birds. Sayla giggles, clutching a wooden sword, and asks, "Will you teach me magic?" He nods, feeling the world's weight press his shoulders.
Seo-jun leans against the guild wall, eyes scanning the bustling courtyard. He spots Yoon-hai finishing a scroll, curiosity sparking in her voice. He throws a grin, daring her to gamble on their shared weakness. Yoon-hai smirks, accepting the challenge, her confidence masking a hidden fear of failure. They agree. Higher written score wins. Loser must grant the victor a single wish. Their laughter masks the dread that a single wish could reshape Seola's fate. Wanna make a bet?
What bet? Higher written score wins. Loser grants a wish.
Their stakes rise, and the gamble fuels a silent storm. Sayla hops onto Seo-jun's lap, eyes bright, clutching a crumpled note.
The chapter reaches a breaking point. The tension snapping like a frayed rope for my daughter is the final boss. Every answer cracked open 3 fresh questions, each spiraling deeper. The final moment teeters everything and everyone on the edge of oblivion. I promise I'll make the next recap as insane as this one. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The hall erupts in cheers as the scoreboard flashes. The first examination is cleared. Yoon-hai squeezes my arm, eyes sparking with triumph. We grin, feeling the weight of the written test lift off our shoulders. The Hunter qualification guide lies open, its pages promising a brutal ZND trial. We exchange a quick nod, silently vowing to keep pace. The crowd's buzz fades into background noise. We have survived the first hurdle. Ahead, a narrow path of danger glints, the future finally visible. Congratulations, we passed the first exam. Yoon-hai and I cleared the written test, moving on to ZND. And that's not even the worst part.
Lightning cracks across the sky as Lee Seo-jun stirs, eyes snapping open to a tiny figure clutching a wand. 5-year-old Seola giggles, unaware that her future looms dark. Seo-jun grabs her hand, vows to teach kindness, to rewrite destiny before the final boss awakens. He feels the weight of the world pressing, but his resolve steels like forged steel. A lone figure stands apart, eyes narrowed, dissecting the dummy's movement with surgical precision. He maps each swing, each armor joint, noting a tiny lag that reveals a vulnerable spot. The narrator recalls that this analyst, in a previous regression, spent countless sleepless nights cracking the dummy's code.
A long table erupts with clatter as plates spill over a lavish spread. Go-Hyun pushes a goblet toward the applicant, declaring the feast his treat. This celebratory meal is on me, so eat away. He grins, eyes scanning the room for approval. The applicant hesitates, glancing at the ornate surroundings, whispering that the venue looks too expensive for a simple test. Hyun laughs, insisting he's already paid, and challenges the applicant to repay the favor once he becomes a wealthy hunter. The promise of future riches fuels the applicant's resolve, even as suspicion lingers. The conversation shifts to shadows behind the feast. Hyun's smile fades as he recalls past encounters with the applicant's allies. The applicant drives his blade into the humming dark core, the dummy's timer flashing 14 seconds as the golem's heart erupts. With a roar, he shouts that his daughter is the final boss, his voice echoing through the shattered arena as the stone fragments rain down. He feels the crushing weight of destiny, gaining the resolve to confront his lineage but risking the lives of his allies and the fragile hope of a world on the brink of darkness. The battle ahead will test every ounce of his will. We don't skip the details. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for the full experience. She was just a good girl, until her final exam becomes humanity's last battle. Lee Seo-jun awakens in a dim stone hall, his body still that of a 5-year-old. Before him, tiny Seola clutches a wooden wand, eyes wide with innocent curiosity. The world outside trembles, remembering the day she shattered kingdoms as the final boss. Seo-jun feels the weight of a new quest. Raise her before darkness takes root. He grips the cold railing, hearing distant drums of war already echoing. The clock ticks, and the first challenge looms on the horizon. And that's not even the worst part. The morning light filters through the palace windows as Seo-jun drafts a hurried message.
You feel the weight of a child's fear pressing on you as Seola clutches her tiny wand, eyes wide. Are you even capable of protecting me? She whispers, voice trembling. Lee Seo-jun replies, your value is the whole world's safety. If you're hurt, we all die. He urges the others forward, demanding proof of safety before she steps further. Daeho growls, we'll go first, you stay back. Hyo Manson hesitates, then says, 2 of us can handle the opening section. We'll scout ahead. The group splits, the child's plea echoing through the stone. A reminder that every misstep could seal the apocalypse. But the real problem is already in motion. My! A ragged gasp cuts through the chaos, then a guttural half erupts as a wounded member collapses, clutching a broken harp-shaped weapon. Blood sprays, staining the cavern floor. We're going in for support, Daeho yells, rallying the remaining fighters. He grabs a spare spear, slams it into the ground, and signals the backup squad to converge. The group steadies, forming a tight line, each member aware that retreat means certain death. Their resolve hardens, but the looming darkness still threatens to swallow them whole. Lee Seo-jun jolts awake on Gwanex Crag, 5-year-old Seola clutching a trembling wand. He, Hyo Manson, and Fist King Daeho sprint into the ant nest, only one sword in hand.
A sudden, invisible force yanks Seo-jun toward a yawning crack, forcing the squad to plunge into the hidden cavern where the ant devourer looms behind a shattered, harp-shaped weapon. Fear spikes as Daeho's fists clench and a wounded teammate collapses, blood staining the floor, while the team risks losing its only blade and their fragile hope of escaping. The cavern walls seal shut, darkness presses in, and the ant devourer's guttural growl echoes, leaving the hunters trapped with an unseen menace ready to strike.
I read it so you don't have to strain your eyes. You're welcome. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari.
The ant devourer swallows the supervisor whole. Only my daughter can stand against the final boss. Seo-jun and his regressed party stare at the newly revealed entrance, heart pounding. The supervisor's odd reaction haunts them. He never saw a hidden dungeon before their regression. Their minds race, wondering if the butterfly effect has rewired the world's dungeons. They whisper about the strange silence, fearing the aftermath will rewrite their timeline. Every second they linger risks another dead end, and the weight of the world presses down on their shoulders.
Supervisor's reaction was strange, too. What if this is the aftermath of the butterfly effect?
And that's not even the worst part.
A sudden pulse of light erupts from the shattered crystal, bathing the ruined courtyard in amber. Lee Seo-jun staggers to his feet, heart pounding, as a 5-year-old Seola clutches a tiny wand, eyes wide with wonder. He vows to teach her kindness, to rewrite the prophecy that once crowned her as the world's doom. With each lesson, he feels hope surge, knowing that failure would still summon apocalypse.
The cavern opens to reveal the ant devourer, a hulking mass of chitin and gnashing mandibles. Its skin tougher than any dummy golem they've faced. The hunters circle, noting the creature's massive eye and twitching antennae. Its only visible weak points. Rain drums on the thatched roof as Seo-jun blinks awake, his heart thudding like a war drum. Before him, 5-year-old Seola lifts a cracked wooden spoon, eyes wide with curiosity. The witch-born child giggles, unaware of the cataclysm looming beyond the cottage walls. Seo-jun grips a faded map, vows to guide her, to rewrite destiny before darkness swallows everything. Lightning flashes over the ruined tower as Seo-jun kneels, cradling 5-year-old Seola. He whispers promises of sunrise and safety, his heart thudding against the crystal of her tiny fist. Each breath he draws fuels a fragile hope. Teach her kindness before darkness awakens. The party shatters their trust, denouncing Seo-jun as reckless, just as the cavern collapses and he must clutch the trembling 5-year-old Seola, promising sunrise amid falling stone. Seo-jun stakes his shattered reputation on protecting the innocent child, gaining a fragile hope while losing the certainty of. If you want the best narration on YouTube, you found it. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. Seola's uncontrolled magic shattered the house and could end the world. Seo-jun jolts awake to the wreckage, his eyes locking on a 5-year-old clutching a flickering ember of power. He knows the same force that ruined the kingdom now burns in his daughter's tiny hands. His goal spikes. Stop the devastation before it spreads. The wrecked walls and screaming wind block his calm, forcing him to act. He lunges forward, grabbing the child, promising safety while the raw mana crackles around them. The air hums with danger, and the stakes rise with every breath.
To think that was Seola's magic.
Seo-jun battles his own logic, remembering that Seola's future as a final boss looms like a dark cloud. She may have the talent, but she's only 5. He whispers, feeling guilt gnaw at his resolve. Forcing her into peril now only guarantees the tragedy I'm trying to avoid. The advisor, eyes softened, replies, "What could possibly change from before? We'll clear the monsters, not force her to fight." They reach a shaky compromise. Bring Seola to a mana-rich zone, but strip it of monsters until she learns control. Their fragile pact hangs on a single promise.
Dungeons and fields are owned by guilds or the association.
A stray wind lifts the banner of Garayo Sword Association as Seo-jun grabs Seola's tiny hand, leading her toward the Crystal Cave field. He greets them, brandishing twin blades, and explains that mana fractures pulse every hour. Seo-jun orders Seola to practice calm breathing while Gideon forges a light harness. Rin sniffs the air, spotting a lurking stone golem, and warns them to stay vigilant.
He drags the trio into the Crystal Cave field, where permanent mana fractures erupt endless monsters, and Seo-jun, clutching his 5-year-old daughter's hand, forces her toward the shimmering fissure before the chaos erupts. Seo-jun risks his daughter's safety to prove his training methods, while he stakes her reputation on the child's success, turning a simple practice into a heart-wrenching gamble of trust and courage. Experience the story the way it was meant to be told. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The celebrated hunter snatches the dungeon's glittering prize, sparking an all-out clash with the Knights Guild. Scanners whir, data torrents flood the field as Azura records every strike. The chapter banner flashes, Chapter 15, The Showdown of Legends. Lee Seo-jun clutches his 5-year-old daughter Sola, who tugs his cloak and squeals with wonder. Around them, the guild's elite titan grips, magic crackling, steel humming. One misstep could rewrite the world's fate. The guild leader steps forward, eyes narrowed, voice a low growl, ready to claim the loot. The treasure glints, raising the stakes to a fever pitch. What comes next will shatter everything. Rex lunges forward, whip cracking, corralling a pack of wild drakes near the guild courtyard. Lee Seo-jun watches his 5-year-old daughter Seola giggle as she summons tiny sparks, shaping them into bright butterflies. He grins, feeling hope replace dread, and promises to train her in sword and spell before the Abyssal Emperor awakens. Every heartbeat counts. Failure would shatter the realm. Heehan squares off against the small child, anger bubbling at the absurdity of this clash. The child's innocent grin masks a fierce desire for the dungeon's reward, a prize he believes will earn him favor with Eun-hye.
The trainer dismisses the rookie's plea, insisting rest is part of mastery. He offers to delay the next field entry, letting Seo-jun recover later. Seo-jun whispers thanks, shoulders relaxing for the first time. Yet the Sword Saint's reputation looms, and Seo-jun feels a strange, nervous flutter despite the calm exterior. The trainer steps forward, placing a firm hand on Seo-jun's shoulder, demanding a brief pause. The pause forces the team to regroup, buying precious minutes before the looming raid. The air crackles with anticipation, because the next step could trigger the world's salvation or its ruin. What comes next changes everything. After the brief rest, the trainer checks Seo-jun's pulse, confirming he's back in fighting shape.
The rookie hunter's fury explodes as he refuses to concede defeat, while the trainer bluntly reveals that the beloved daughter will become the final boss, shattering the guild's confidence. Seo-jun teeters on collapse, his pride and stamina draining. Yet a brief rest restores his vigor, granting him fleeting hope that he can still. Hitting subscribe is statistically proven to make your day better. Probably. Try it. Mana bursts, birthing his daughter into an unstoppable final boss. Azura hovers over the shattered plane, eyes glued to the flickering mana veins. The dim glow tells him the surge has incinerated every monster. He steadies his breath. The silence screams that the world's magical predators are dead. The squad watches, nerves tight, as the last hostile spark fades. With nothing left to hunt, their goal flips to shielding the child who now wields that raw power. And the nightmare has only just begun. Seo-jun sweeps the ruined camp, confirming every trap sprung and each corpse concealed. He turns to Heehan, demanding she move the last body and snatch Sayla before the Mage Tower's scouts arrive.
Heehan details the golem's regenerative armor. Rocks mend every wound. She warns half-hearted attacks only fuel its rage. Seo the beast, spotting a faint glow deep within its torso, the core that will shatter the monster in one strike. Heehan signals the squad to converge on that point, timing their blows to dodge the healing surge. The team steadies their weapons, each breath a countdown to the decisive blow. Aim for the core, not the stone armor. He has no idea what's waiting. Seo-jun gestures to the golem's crown, then to its neck, noting the core sits between. He orders the squad to strike the neck, the thin junction where stone plates fade.
With the core still hidden, a sudden chill sweeps the arena, frosting the dust beneath their feet. An enormous teddy bear of crystal and frost rises, its grin frozen in a mocking smile. Heehan freezes, eyes wide, while Seo-jun tightens his grip on his sword, fearing another trap. Seola watches the creature with curious wonder, her voice cutting through the tension. She points at the frozen foe, her words ringing clear despite the chaos. The bear's presence signals the golem's mana spilling into bizarre forms, turning the battlefield into a nightmare of unpredictable threats. What is that?
An ice teddy bear? My daughter is the final boss.
The cold monster steps forward, and the ground trembles beneath its weight. But the real problem is already in motion. Seo-jun and Heehan converge their blades on the golem's exposed neck, shattering the stone plates and unveiling the pulsing core as a colossal crystal teddy bear materializes. Heehan feels the weight of every fallen comrade, fearing another loss, while Seo-jun wrestles guilt, hoping this decisive strike finally secures his sister's future. With the core exposed yet the icy teddy bear looming, the squad confronts an unknown frostborn menace that threatens to freeze the entire battlefield.
System notifications are about to go crazy. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The golem's roar shatters the mountain. My daughter's final boss already storms in. Seo-jun snaps awake on a cracked plane, his pulse hammering. He spots 5-year-old Sayla clutching a glowing staff, ice spiraling from her tiny palms. Their gazes lock. Every heartbeat could trigger the apocalypse. He lunges forward, trying to yank her away before her creation magic detonates. Surveillance drones flicker, already tracing the massive mana surge. The world's alarm blares in his mind, reminding him that each second buys only a breath. He knows a single misstep could seal humanity's fate.
Mana spike detected.
And that's not even the worst part.
A child's giggle erupts in the shattered courtyard as Sayla summons a towering ice bear with a flick of her tiny wrist. Seo-jun scrambles, heart hammering, to shield his daughter from the approaching golem. The bear roars, freezing stone arms mid-strike, and the golem collapses. A crackling alert blooms from the tower's sentry, announcing Sela's first misfortune. Seo-jun grips her hand, vowing to rewrite destiny before darkness consumes them. He snaps awake to the roar of a cracked crystal tower, and 5-year-old Seola giggles while conjuring a swirling vortex of ice shards that encases a rampaging stone golem. Seo-jun darts forward, slashing the rune that fuels the beast, and they crush the monster together.
Seo-jun clenches his fists, still seething from the golem clash, and vows to punish the lingering monster that threatens Sayla. He glances at his daughter, noticing the faint glow still humming from her hands, and wonders if that same power hides a darker purpose. A sudden knock shatters the tense silence, and a voice from the doorway mentions a visitor, prompting Seo-jun to rise despite his fatigue. He rushes to the entrance, heart pounding, fearing the unknown may exploit Sela's raw magic. The moment he opens the door, a shadow slips inside, and the danger spikes. What comes next changes everything. A familiar name echoes through the hallway, Heian, a former comrade whose loyalty Seo-jun once trusted.
Sayla twists raw mana into a living beast, shattering the summoning law and exposing the hidden cost of forging a creature without a spell. Seo-jun watches his daughter's glow, feels his heart split between protecting her and fearing the monster she unknowingly birthed, realizing every protective instinct could become his greatest failure. A foreign envoy steps through the hall, the world's illegal magic radar blares, and the quest log flashes anew.
I don't miss. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for consistent, high-tier recaps. 5 misfortunes threaten the world, and the final boss is Lee Seola's own daughter. The mage towers flickers, catching a surge of mana. A cold number flashes, marking chapter 18, while the title blares the impossible truth. Somewhere in the shadows, a hidden log notes the 9th anomaly, a warning that the storm has already begun. Seo-jun feels the weight of his past failures pressing against his chest, and the world shivers under the looming curse. He knows that every second lost brings the final boss closer to triumph. And that's not even the worst part. Seo-jun awakens to a glowing contract hovering before him, the words pulsing like a heartbeat. Change the future. His focus sharpens. The outcome is no longer in anyone else's hands. No words, no hesitation. He moves before anyone else breathes. Lee Seo-jun opens his eyes to a trembling 5-year-old Lee Seola clutching a cracked wand, the same which who would later raise kingdoms. He swears to rewrite destiny, teaching her compassion before the 5 misfortunes awaken her darkness. Each sunrise becomes a battle, fail, and the final boss's cataclysm consumes everything. Realizing the hunter they chased is the wrong one, Seo-jun lowers his weapon and steps back. A tower official nods, accepting his surrender, and thanks them for cooperating. The tension eases, but the child's fear still hangs in the air.
Seo-jun spots a glossy billboard from Archaean High-Tech promising a new product that will prove the company's trustworthiness. The ad flashes a corporate interview, and a voice asks, "Interviews showing up now, huh?" He feels a chill when a colleague whispers, "Are you sure you'll be fine alone?" He answers himself, "I'll define. I've barely been in a dungeon before, and I'm only going today for promotional purposes. He clenches his fists, decides the demo is worth the risk, and steps toward the entrance despite his inexperience. What comes next changes everything. A stern sign blocks the path. No entry for civilians. Stop danger.
Seo-jun drags 5-year-old Seola into the yawning underground hatch, sealing the rusted door behind them as the cavernous tunnel swallows their light and a distant rumble reverberates through stone. Seo-jun feels his heart tighten, knowing any misstep could doom the child he's vowed to protect, while his own guilt over past passivity claws at his conscience, demanding redemption now. A thin blue glow leaks from a cracked wall, hinting at an unseen threat beyond the tunnel's darkness, and the rumbling intensifies, leaving the fate of Seola hanging on the edge. End of the chapter. Time to subscribe to Manwa with Hari.
She turned her own daughter into the final boss, and the world trembles. Lee Seo-jun awakens in a dim chamber, his mind scrambling as the scanner hums. The display flashes. My daughter is the final boss. He feels the weight of his past failure. His child, the witch Seola, destroyed everything. The cold metal of the scanner reflects his gaunt face. He realizes the only chance left is to rewrite that ending. The clock ticks, and every second steals another fragment of the world's future. This isn't over yet. And that's not even the worst part. Seo-jun stumbles into a chaotic hallway where mercenaries shout over each other. Ha-Iraq slides a sealed case across the table, labeling it Uncleared Dungeon Collection. She wants Seo-jun to take the mysterious artifact, but the description remains hidden, and an unforeseen issue clouds the deal. He can decide after hearing the details, yet the unknown nature of the dungeon collection threatens to unleash chaos. She frames the item as a commission, a contract that could empower him or bind him to a deadly mission. The weight of the case presses on his shoulders, and the looming issue hints at a hidden danger that could ruin everything if he accepts. Where are you guys? Answer me. Seo-jun bolts upright, eyes locking onto the giggling 5-year-old Seola clutching a cracked doll.
Sunlight pierces the cracked kitchen window as Seo-jun scoops warm porridge into a tiny bowl. He kneels, watches 5-year-old Seola sniff the steam, and promises protection. Ha-Iraq barges in, brandishes the blank card, and offers the dungeon collection. Seo-jun grabs the card, eyes flicker with resolve, and declares he will train his daughter before confronting any guardian. The clock ticks. The world trembles. A sudden clang echoes from the market stalls as Lee Seo-jun snaps awake, clutching the blank card that glows faintly. 5-year-old Seola tugs his sleeve, eyes bright with curiosity. Ha-Iraq steps forward, brandishing the uncleared dungeon collection, promising power if he survives the Tiger Den. Lee Seo-jun steps into the yawning mouth of Tiger Den, flashlight carving a thin line through oppressive blackness as the pulsing walls whisper promises of power from Ha-Iraq's cursed collection. He clutches the glowing blank card, V. That impact was felt through the screen. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for more. The night snowflake dungeon swallows his breath. Sunrise looms, and his 5-year-old daughter waits at home. He forces his eyes open, feeling the stale air of an untouched cavern. A cold message flickers in his mind. You have entered an uncleared dungeon. He wants a way out before darkness deepens. The walls close in, echoing with unseen claws. He clutches the narrow torchlight, refusing to panic, and steps forward despite the dread that claws at his spine. Failure means the final boss she will become consumes everything. He pauses at a dusty shelf, eyeing a cracked vial labeled Night Snowflake. The memory of King Daeho's grin flashes. Together they once used this brew to pierce perpetual gloom. The echo of a guttural roar shakes the tunnel. Thwart thirts, a sound no creature makes. He freezes, realizing the noise isn't a scream but a vibration from a hidden mimic. It waits, craving any movement to detect. He knows the monster feeds on sound, so he silences his own breath, letting the suit's mana shield absorb the tremor. He whispers, "A mimic, I know," to the empty stone, then lunges, blade piercing the creature's core. The mimic shatters, releasing a burst of dark energy that slams into his chest. He feels the sting, his armor cracking at the seams. He pays with a burning scar for each victory. The answer is already too late.
A mimic.
He hears the child's sudden question. His stomach tightens. He mutters a short "huh?" as his thoughts race. The girl screams, "Daddy, you're not dead?" And his shame flares. He admits he stepped into the dark without any gear, his mistake a fresh wound. He reaches for the armor strapped to his back, calling it his second gift, a one-of-a-kind item never meant for market. The suit hums, its surface cold, promising a shield against the abyss. He knows each heartbeat draws the mimic closer to his daughter's terrified echo. The price of delay is her permanent loss.
Huh? Daddy, you're not dead? I didn't come to this dungeon without preparing.
A terrified child clutches a torch as a snarling mimic lunges, its teeth snapping inches from her face. While the enchanted armor shatters the creature's assault and she whispers, "Yes, that I." He feels shame searing his gut as his daughter's raw confession strips away his hope, leaving her misery to gnaw at his soul and the fragile bond between them to fray. The looming darkness whispers a promise of endless sorrow should he ever forget this feeling, and the mimic's shattered husk hints at a greater, unseen horror waiting. The system is broken, and we're here for the glitch. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari.